12 minutes past 8 o'clock. It is Tuesday morning. It is April 27th, 2021. Good morning, everybody. I'm Scott Michlin, and thanks for tuning in to KSJE 90.9 FM over the air here in San Juan County, New Mexico, 103.3 FM over the air in Durango, Colorado, and streaming everywhere, of course, from our website, ksje.com. Welcome also to our viewers who are watching this innovative visual radio program. It is streaming live this morning to the KSJE YouTube channel, our Facebook page, and our Twitter account. We're glad that you are with us as well, everybody. Coming up in the next few moments, my conversation with Bloomfield Schools Superintendent, Dr. Kim Mizell. She is standing by and will be joining me very shortly, so stay tuned for that. We're looking forward to speaking with her to get an update on conditions and things going on at the Bloomfield School District as the school year is rapidly coming to a close. So that's coming up in the next few moments this morning right here on KSJE. Then, of course, later on this hour, I'll be joined by Amber Francisco from the Farmington Regional Animal Shelter. She'll be telling us a little bit about some of the pets available for adoption this week, including Simba, who is on the screen right now. You'll hear more about Simba coming up in just a moment later on this hour at 8:50 a.m. right here on KSJE. Mick Hess, next hour, is taking us roving with the arts, and this is one of Mick's Hope Not Hate mornings when he is talking about composers who were imprisoned during World War II and sharing some of their music and stories with us. That is coming up this morning, and this week Mick is talking about Marius Flothwis coming up today. That is the program Hope Not Hate, a special series with special music from these composers on Roving with the Arts, 9:06 a.m. after the news, right here on KSJE. Don't forget, of course, you can connect with us on our social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, in addition to Instagram as well. It's a cloudy morning so far today outside our studios here at San Juan College. It is 42 degrees in Farmington at the moment. Let's get the rest of the weather details for today from our weather intern from San Juan College. Rolando Yazzie is joining me on the phone this morning with the weather details. Rolando, take it away.
All right, good morning, Scott, and good morning, everybody tuning in right now. And let's take a look at your 5-day forecast. For today, cool with mostly cloudy skies with scattered showers and thunderstorms, high of 56. Tonight, partly cloudy with scattered rain showers with a low of 35. Wednesday, breezy with partly cloudy skies with isolated showers and thunderstorms, high near 63. Wednesday night, breezy with partly cloudy skies with a low of 38. Thursday, warm, sunny, and bright with some breeze, high near 73. Thursday night, clear with a low of 43. Friday night, very warm and sunny, high of 80. Friday night, mostly clear with a low of 48. Saturday, partly cloudy with a high of 85. And for Saturday night, partly cloudy skies with a low of 52. I'm Rolando Yazzie reporting your 5-day outlook on 90.9 KSJE.
All right, Rolando, thank you. We'll take it. That weekend weather looks pretty good, so thank you very much. That's Rolando Yazzie. He joins me every morning to give us the latest on the weather forecast from KSJE, and we appreciate that very much. Let me turn to my guest, who is joining me this morning as well. It's Bloomfield Schools Superintendent Dr. Kim Mizell has joined us from her office in Bloomfield. Dr. Mizell, it's always great to see you. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing okay.
Well, good. Great to have you with us. And as I mentioned, the school year is rapidly coming to a close. I know things have been, obviously, this school year, looking back, a little bit different from probably all the other ones in your career. But how are things going?
Well, we're moving forward and making plans for next year, going through the budget process, and looks like we're going to be okay financially due to several factors.
Well, that's good news.
They made an adjustment in the SEG for hold harmless, so we were able to get the difference in our loss in student enrollment, so that's a good thing. We can sustain the staffing that we have. We should be receiving additional impact aid money, so that's another good thing. And then the CARES Act money is really going to help us jumpstart some things with social emotional learning and supporting students in the district. We're going to go ahead and move forward with kindergarten through second grade receiving devices this next year. we have 3rd through 12th, and so we will be one-to-one K-12 next year.
Wonderful. And that has been probably something that's been hard to attain without some additional funding. I mean, that's an expensive prospect, right, to try to get devices into the hands of your students?
Right. We're going to use this opportunity to utilize the CARES Act funds to do that. We've also bought a lot of hotspots to support students that are in more remote areas. So hopefully, depending on how things work out next year, we will have a virtual learning option for K-6 and also for 7th through 12th grade, if families choose to keep their students at home.
Got you. And so the plan would be to hopefully bring all your students back face to face, but still offer that remote option if families choose to do that. You're going to do both.
That's right. We're encouraging them to come back to school, but depending on their situations, and
right,
they make a decision that keeps their family safe. So we're going to have that option.
Sure. Well, that's I think a lot of districts are considering doing that or planning to do that. And so for your teachers, does that mean they're going to have to come up with lesson plans, I guess, for both then, correct? Like they've done?
No, we're gonna move forward with identified teachers for that virtual learning.
I see.
And so then we won't have to live in two worlds with planning and instruction.
I see. So some of your teachers would be face-to-face teachers and some of your teachers would be virtual teachers. Is that how to describe it? Got it.
Right.
Interesting. And you mentioned some of the budget things, Dr. Mizell, and I wanted to spend a bit of time with you about that because I know there was some trepidation earlier until you did learn about some of these changes that the state was making in that funding formula and some of the other things that you mentioned. And so as you mentioned, it looks favorable for Bloomfield schools. Your budget should be fairly stable going from this year into the next year, correct?
Right. We're basically going to be able to provide the raises, make the adjustment in our budget to support and sustain the staffing that we do have. We're not growing anything, but at least sustaining what we have.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's positive. And thank goodness the legislative session ended up approving what they had put forth as far as the financial budget for the state. And that everybody seems to be okay. I haven't heard anyone that's just falling short on everything and struggling. So that's a good thing.
Right. And I think that was the concern because of the enrollment numbers, which I think for almost every district in the state are pretty scary, right? The numbers of children who just didn't come back to school last fall, and maybe they'll come back in this fall, right?
That's what we're all hoping. Yeah, it's been a little, I guess if you can call it, sketchy this year with
Right.
our student numbers. So our enrollment, all of us are kind of struggling with that, and we're hopeful that the families feel comfortable sending their kids back to school in the beginning in fall, and we'll get back into the swing of things.
That would be great. Impact Aid is another thing that you mentioned that I wanted to ask you about because that is something that's more specific to maybe the Bloomfield School District, and I know Central Consolidated rather than maybe some of the others in the area, and that's more of a permanent change in funding, is it not?
Yes.
For the good, right? That's a positive.
Right. So Impact Aid is provided for our Native American students in the district, and we're at 41% right now. And it's to support them and help them to have opportunities like tutoring, learning interventions, and also, some of the device situations that we may have. And so we were one of the districts that normally what happens is the state takes 75% of the funds, but we do all the paperwork and generate the funding for that. And so over the past years, the amount that we should be getting is $2.6 million. And
Right.
we only got 750,000 of that. So just give you an idea.
Let me let that sink into our audiences for just a moment. Out of what you were allocated and should have been getting, $2+ million, you only got less than 1,700,000.
Exactly. So we're scheduled to get all of it this year, and so that is going to be a nice boost for the district, and will help with that money. You can spend it how you see fit to support students, and so that's going to be a nice buffer that we will have within our district.
Congratulations. And that is only possible, I guess, because that kind of how that money was being divided ran afoul of some folks. And was it a judge's order or a court order to redistribute that money to those districts like yours?
Yes, some districts that was Zuni, Gallup, CCSD filed a lawsuit against the state saying that it was inadequate funding for our areas, that we don't generate enough revenue to support the Native American students due to checkerboard area or lack of revenue that comes off of the reservation. And so they won, and now the state's having to adjust. And so what they call them are credits. They take these credits from us and put them into the general fund. Well, they're no longer going to do that. So they're having to revamp the funding formula and look at things a little differently, which needed to happen.
Right.
So there was quite a few despairing, I can't say the word today, but anyway, as far as facilities and what was happening in Gallup and Zuni and CCSD with their facilities, trying to maintain the facilities. You know, everything you do is $1 million. A roofing project's $1 million.
When you're a school district, that's true. Yes.
Right. If you don't have the cash balance to do that, you're not going to be able to maintain your buildings. So, and a lot of them have struggled there. So this will help them as well.
Great. Well, that's good news for you, for Bloomfield schools, for Bloomfield students, and I think for their parents and anyone who lives in Bloomfield schools, right? The district, getting this extra money, because this is an ongoing thing now. This should be permanent, a permanent new increased source of funding for Bloomfield schools. Is that a correct way to describe it?
Yes.
Very, very exciting. Well, congratulations again on all of that coming up. You know, when we're together, Dr. Mizell, I always have to ask you about the cars and your students and your GPAs. I don't know if you've had a chance to check on the numbers this morning of how many of your students are still in the running for the new to them car at the end of the school year, but can you give us an update?
Yes, I just went over that with the principals at the high school, and we have quite a few kids in the running for that. I think the number right now is 312 students.
Wow.
So they've maintained their grades to a 3.5 or higher. And so we're going to schedule the car giveaway early this year. Since we don't have to wait till the end of the year, we're going to base it on the third quarter GPAs. So that's coming up next month.
Okay. And next month is next week, so that's soon.
I know. It's fast.
Here it comes. That's true. Speaking of next month, Dr. Mizell, can you give us an update on graduation plans? I know it's certainly subject to change from the state for COVID-safe guidelines and whatever color San Juan County is in, but I imagine your high schools are making their plans and trying to let parents know kind of what to plan for and what to think about.
Yes, on our website we posted the guidelines based on the county colors, and so parents know that if we're in yellow, only 2 parents will be able to come to an outdoor graduation. We're hopeful that we move up. We've got to get our case numbers down to do that, and Bloomfield's ready to do whatever we have to do. If it goes to red, we'll do a drive-through graduation. The kids walk across stage, we live stream it, or if it's turquoise, we're going to have a traditional graduation ceremony that our town loves. I mean, everybody shows up, families. It's a beautiful experience, and so we're hopeful,
right?
But we will adjust however we need to.
Sure, understood. Well, and we keep hearing from the state that maybe they are going to make some adjustments to some of that criteria that determines what color a county is, and so it may be a bit more beneficial, I would say, to some of the larger counties in the state. At least that's what we heard last week from the state health folks. So, but I know.
Right. I mean,
Go ahead.
they're going to take into the fact that, vaccinations, and we're probably one of the highest regions that have the large majority of their people vaccinated. So I don't understand why we keep having the cases that we're having. And the only thing I can attribute it to is that we're a border town, and we have people coming from Arizona, Utah, Colorado into our town, and we're getting exposed, I guess. I don't know. It just seems strange to me.
I hear you. I hear you. And I know when we show the numbers on our Thursday COVID program, San Juan County is in a little bit higher than maybe 40% vaccination according to the state, and the state is moving along too. So hopefully that's all going to help. But I'm just as frustrated and confused as you are as to where these cases are coming from, because they are not going in the right direction at the moment. But our fingers are crossed and hopeful that they will, and so we'll see what happens. Let me ask you, Dr. Mizell, a little bit about education overall. This has been a tough year for students, for families, for everybody, your teachers, your principals, your staff. As you look back, kind of are there things that we can learn from this past year moving forward, and maybe how to teach kids in some trying situations and things along that line?
Scott, what I've observed is that, the teachers have been the champions of all of this. I mean, we established a framework of what we wanted to do for remote learning, but they stepped up to the plate and have done an incredible job. I have stories like a veteran teacher who had 28 years in. He really actually shined in the high school because he helped with the remote learning process and developed the instruction and content that was going to happen in math for the high school last summer. And, unexpected successes in individuals that weren't digital natives. We're all much more proficient in utilizing technology and supporting our kids as best we can. And the kids have also become much more proficient in use of technology. So we use Google Classroom. It's a wonderful tool in our district that we can pretty much maintain coursework, classes, kids submitting assignments. It's been fairly smooth. And so our tech department, and Russell Flores is our director of technology, has done an amazing job for our district. And so I'm just proud of the work that we've done. And the only flip side of this is I hate that the students have been yo-yoed back and forth in and out of closures and openings. That hasn't been good. I didn't want to do that, but we have to live by a certain set of rules. And you find yourself where you have a lot of cases in your school and you don't have staff to support maintaining the in-person learning. So these are tough decisions, and I don't take any of them lightly. I second guess myself every day practically with what decisions we have to do and how we need to move forward. But I just tell my staff and everybody, just keep moving forward, keep working through it, and we'll arrive there soon.
Right. There you go. And that is good advice. But I imagine probably for years, folks are going to look back on this period and kind of dig into some of the data and look at some of the things maybe that worked and didn't work. I imagine that as educators, you'll all be learning a lot from this as to how students reacted and teachers too during this past very strange year.
Yeah, I think we'll really see the impact of what has occurred at the beginning of the year in August, when we start doing the pre-assessments with the kids. We'll see if they were able to sustain or not, or if they lost a lot. We'll probably have to adjust our instruction to maybe do a lot more reteaching at the previous grade level, maybe the first 9 weeks, and then start moving forward in the grade level content after that. It's going to be interesting to see the results. I think, everyone's anticipating the social emotional concerns that we're going to have with these kids that are hitting the deck and maybe haven't been exposed to people or had contact with interaction with others, and how they're going to respond. I was thinking about the babies during this year haven't seen a lot of smiles because we're wearing masks. And so in early child development, all the facial expressions, when you work with young children, they respond to that. And I'm a little bit concerned about that as far as our babies and what we have going on with them. And hopefully their parents have really worked with them in eye contact and letting them see them smile. And I don't, we don't know. I think the studies will be coming out, and I'll be reading all those studies
Right.
to find out what the results of all of this ended up being. It's
Certainly.
a little scary.
Certainly understand, and that's a good point. And I know we're learning every day, I think, about what's been going on and how to deal with it the best way these last 13 months now, if not more. So I completely understand. Are there any plans in Bloomfield schools to adjust the calendar, any at all, Dr. Mizell, to maybe help your teachers get more instruction or help your students get more time in the classroom with their teachers to relearn some of this stuff or help them?
Yes. We decided in the August to do the K6 Plus, and so we adjusted our calendar for our community. It's district-wide, so we will continue school for an additional 3 weeks in June to hopefully bridge some of that lost learning. We're hoping it's fully in person and support the kids. We did not do the extended learning plan, but the K6 is part of that. So the extended learning kind of involves more secondary areas and providing extended school year for the high school and middle school. Our area, we struggle with that because of transportation, and also they require with that application that you do all year after school interventions. And with our transportation issues with kids coming in an hour and a half out, we cannot do that because they won't get home until really late at night. So some of the challenges around that, I just don't feel Bloomfield is a conducive situation for extending our day for kids. And so we will we're already doing some after school tutoring. Right now, we started that at the last 9 weeks of the year to try to help students after kind of in the day or like in the morning. If they can do virtual, we'll have them get on, but some of them are already on the buses for after headed home. So we're trying to do some things right now that are preemptive to dealing with the loss of learning. I'm just hopeful that it's not awful when we come back. I'm hoping that families continue to work with their kids. They supported them in the learning process, and we don't have a big wave of retentions that could occur next year due to not be able to perform on grade level.
Understood. Well, and that's got to be concerning to parents too, I imagine, across the country and across the world. And I haven't seen too many studies that show that, but of course I'm not as well read as you are, and some of your colleagues. And I would hope that maybe sometimes kids surprise us all the time, and maybe this will be one of those times.
That's the way I believe. I choose to believe in resilience of a child, and what we're seeing with our preliminary data mid-year was that they were able to maintain this year. Now, I'm sure we'll have some learning loss that we're just not aware of, but our preliminary mid-year data indicates that they actually did okay. Now, we're getting ready to take the state assessment for our, I believe it's 3rd through 6th grade right now. And we take iStations every month. So we have the K2 data as well. And that seems to be okay as well. the factor that we have to take into consideration is, are the parents taking the test for them? So we're not sure. So we
Uh-oh.
on some kids we went ahead and had their parents bring them in because we needed to know exactly where that child was, because that was when we were looking at retentions and
Sure.
what we needed to do for them, because what we were seeing in the classroom didn't demonstrate what they did on the test. So we've had to address those kind of issues. But, it's hard to sit there and watch your child not be able to do something, and I'm sure some parents maybe helped them out. But we'll know more at the beginning of the year.
Okay. Well, and we'll be checking with you about that. But you're right. I think kids are pretty resilient, and we may be surprised, and I'm hoping for that outcome. But if not, I think teachers will be ready to pick up the slack and get them back where they need to be, and that's kind of how it works, right? That's what the plan is.
Right, and I'm sitting here with my fingers crossed that it all works out.
There's been a lot of that this past year, I'm afraid. But that's all right. Dr. Mizell, I always appreciate your time. I know you're very busy, and thank you for spending some time with me this morning to give us an update on what's going on in Bloomfield schools, and we'll catch up with you again at the end of May.
Okay, have a good one.
All right, will do. You too. Thank you so much. That is Bloomfield Schools Superintendent Dr. Kim Mizell joining me this morning on KSJE. Back with more in just a moment, everyone. The time right now is 8:39.
President Biden sees